I lived in the United States for 28 years. I paid over $187,000 in taxes. I raised a United States Navy officer, and ICE took me away on a Tuesday morning while I still had oil on my hands. Let me tell you what it's like to lose everything you built in a single day. But let me start at the beginning. I'm from Sahuayo, Michoacán, a mid-sized town on the edge of Lake Chapala. I grew up in a two-room house with my parents, Don Aurelio and Doña Carmela. My father was a man who never fixed a yellow light bulb in the kitchen. He said it was the way the house breathed. I became a mechanic's helper at a local shop when I was 19. Not because someone told me to, because I could hear when something was wrong with a motor before anyone else could. I'd press my ear to the hood, close my eyes, and the engine would tell me what it needed. The owner called me a natural. That shop was the best thing in my life until it wasn't. The owner died of a heart attack in the spring of 1995. No warning, just gone. The shop closed. I was 33 years old. My wife Graciela was pregnant, 6 months along with our second. One Sunday afternoon, I opened the refrigerator and there was no milk. Not because I forgot to buy it, because I had no money. That was the moment. No drama, just the refrigerator and the clarity that was brutal and quiet at the same time. I left on August 12th, 1995, 4 in the morning. Graciela held the lapel of my denim jacket in the kitchen. She didn't pull, just held. Ramon, our 2-year-old, was asleep in the next room. The yellow bulb was doing its thing, on and off. Graciela looked at me and said, in the lowest voice I ever heard her use, "Vete, pero no te pierdas de ti mismo." Go, but don't lose yourself. I didn't know what she meant. I thought she meant, don't get lost on the road, come back. I nodded, kissed her forehead, smelled her hair, coconut shampoo, the cheap kind, and walked out. I thought about that smell for 28 years. Her face got blurrier with time. That smell never did. I traveled to Nogales, Sonora, and paid a man called El Zurdo, the left-handed one, from Culiacan, $2,800 to get me across. Half my savings, half borrowed from a brother-in-law. There were 12 of us total, my cousin Gerardo and 10 strangers, including 2 boys from Michoacán who could not have been more than 16 years old. The second day in the Sonoran desert, 3 in the morning, 42 degrees Celsius. That's the night temperature. One of the 16-year-olds, Efrain, started convulsing. Dehydration. His body gave out. El Zurdo looked at us and said, "Lo dejamos. We leave him." I said no. I had Arame fence cuts on my right forearm, already bleeding through the cloth. My feet were blisters inside the boots. My tongue was swollen from thirst. But I put Efrain on my back and walked. 6 hours, until we reached the pickup point. Efrain survived. In 2019, he sent me a WhatsApp message. 3 kids, a bakery in Phoenix. He called me mi compadre. We entered the United States on August 14, 1995. A beige van in a Tucson shopping center parking lot. I had no documentation, no plan beyond the phone number in Los Angeles, and I weighed 4 kilos less than when I'd left Sahuayo. Do you know what it's like to arrive in a country that doesn't know your name and have nothing but a phone number on a piece of paper? I got to Los Angeles 3 days later. A friend of my father's kept 20% of my salary the first 2 months as an introduction fee. I paid it. Gratitude is more complicated than mathematics. My first home was the kitchen floor of an apartment on 115th and Figueroa. 7 people in 2 rooms. I slept on a folded towel for 3 weeks. August 17th, 1995, 3 days after arriving, I started washing cars at Shine King Auto Detailing in Inglewood. $4.25 an hour. The first car they gave me was a white Mercedes E320. I took 2 hours and 15 minutes. Everyone else took 35. The dentist tipped $5. My boss kept 4. I bought tortillas with the dollar I had left, ate them with cold canned beans on the kitchen floor and thought, this is the beginning. By 2004, I was at Pacific Coast Auto Repair, 8247 South Vermont Avenue, Los Angeles. My boss Marcus Webb had owned that shop since 1989. He knew my situation. He asked once and never again. He called me my best investment. I worked there for 19 years. $9 an hour when I started. $22 an hour by 2023. $3,800 a month net. Every day, 7 in the morning to 6 at night. They called me El Profe because I always explained why, not just how. From 2003 to 2023, I paid taxes on every paycheck. Federal, state, Social Security, Medicare. Never filed for a refund. Never applied for Medicaid. Never touched food stamps. Never asked for unemployment, not even during COVID. Total paid to the American government over 20 years, $187,400. I also sent money home every month. $600 the first 10 years, $1,200 the last 10. Total sent over 28 years, $234,000. I built Graciela a 3-bedroom house with that money. Paid for my son Miguel's 4 years of university. Every dollar I earned had somewhere to go. And I had a son born in Los Angeles, Brandon Solis. Born July 17, 1995, at Cedar Sinai. I found out by phone from a payphone outside the pharmacy in Inglewood. His mother kept custody. I kept showing up. Christmas 2011. Brandon was 16, sleeping on my couch, and I woke up at 6 to make chilaquiles in the old pot with a dent on the right side. He woke from the smell, sat in the kitchen in his boxers, ate 2 full plates without speaking, then said, "Dad, nobody makes it like you." I went to the bathroom and stayed there 5 minutes. Came back and washed the dishes. Brandon graduated from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey. He is a lieutenant in the United States Navy. He lives in San Diego with his wife Ashley and 2 children, Jacob, 5, and Emma, 3. My son is an American naval officer, and his father never had papers. I want you to sit with that. Now let me tell you about September 2009. Routine checkpoint on the 110 freeway. I handed over my license, the only document I had. The officer looked at it, looked at me, looked at it again, then handed it back with 2 fingers, like he was touching something dirty. He said, "Next time, take surface streets." He didn't arrest me. He didn't have to. The way those 2 fingers held that card said everything about what I was worth to that system. I drove home with the window open in the September cold. Couldn't breathe with it closed. Sat in the parking lot 20 minutes before going upstairs. My hands were shaking on the wheel, not from the cold. Have you ever been treated like a criminal for driving home from work? Have you ever had someone touch something you handed them like it was contaminated? I'd been in that country 14 years at that point, and 2 fingers on a card told me exactly what the system thought of me. After that night, I was scared to deal with anything official, scared to be noticed. That fear cost me everything. That is the one thing I would change. Tuesday, March 14th, 2023, 11:47 in the morning. I was on the mechanic's cart, sliding out from under a Ford F-150 with a transmission problem, a gasket in my oily hand, When I looked up and saw Marcus standing there with an expression I had never seen on his face in 19 years. Behind him, two men who were not customers. I knew before anyone spoke. I lay there 2 seconds on the cart, the smell of motor oil, the cold concrete under my back, and I thought, absurdly, the transmission isn't finished. I got up slowly. The agent said my full name, Héctor Ramón Solís Ibarra, with perfect pronunciation. Someone had practiced. He said, "Mr. Solís, you are being detained under Section 237A of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Please come with us." I said, "Can I wash my hands first?" He said, "Yes." I walked to the sink, the same sink where I had washed my hands at 7 in the morning every single day for 19 years. The water was cold. I scrubbed. The St. Christopher medal my mother gave me swung and hit my chest once. I dried my hands on the blue rag, folded it, put it back where it belongs. Turned to the agent and said, "I'm ready," in English, no accent. Flaco went to the bathroom and didn't come out until the van was gone. Marcus stood with his hands in his pockets, looking at the ground. Kevin Park, the man I'd eaten lunch with every Thursday for 11 years, walked up, shook my hand, said, "See you," and went back to work. We both knew he didn't mean it. The complaint that triggered the raid? An anonymous tip from a competitor who lost a contract to Marcus's shop. No criminal record in 28 years, not a single charge. A neighbor's competitor made a phone call. 47 days later, I was on a plane. They took me to Adelanto Ice Processing Center in the Mojave Desert, 145 kilometers from Los Angeles. I crossed the desert to get in. I ended up in the desert to get out. 8 people per cell. Fluorescent lights 24 hours. Phone calls at 21 cents a minute. I called Graciela every night for 10 minutes. Total spent on calls during 47 days, $88.20. Marcus came twice by bus, 3 hours each way. Brandon called from the South China Sea at 2 in the morning his time. He said, "Dad, I'm coming." I said, "Finish your mission." He came April 22nd. Glass divider, gray plastic phone, navy uniform. He sat down and looked at me a long time before picking up. His ears were red. They always go red when he holds back tears since he was 8. He said, "Dad, nobody's ashamed of you. You built everything." I said, "Cuida de tu madre, cuida de tus hermanos. No tengas vergüenza de mí." He said, "Because of you, Dad." I put my open palm against the glass. He put his on the other side. 30 seconds, cold glass between us, feeling nothing. The last thing I saw was his back going through the revolving door, the gold lieutenant star on his shoulder. 29 days later, a plane. Zip tie on my wrists during boarding. 34 of us. Nobody talked much. I still had motor oil in the creases of my fingers. Some things don't come out. I am now in Sahuayo, the house I built with remittances but never slept in. 3 bedrooms, a modern kitchen. Graciela kept it beautiful for 28 years. I make about 4,500 pesos a month fixing cars in the garage. $260. I was making $3,800 a month in Los Angeles. At 8 in the evening, I call Brandon. Jacob appears on the screen and says, "Abuelo," in a perfect American accent. He knows maybe 15 words in Spanish. Emma, 3 years old, I have met once, on a screen. She doesn't know me yet. Do you know what it's like to hear your grandson laugh and not understand half of what he says? Can you imagine needing your son to translate between you and your own grandchild? Who fixed the cars that carried your children to school? We did. And where are we now? In 2019, 4 LAPD patrol cars came into Marcus's shop in an emergency. I had all 4 running and back on the road the same day. One officer shook my hand and said, "You're a lifesaver, man." The country that deported me, the police I helped get back on the street. The anger burned out somewhere around day 20 in Adelanto. What's left is not anger, it's a clarity. Very cold, very quiet. Last week, my grandson Hector Jr., 7 years old, Ramon's boy, lives with us now, came into the garage and asked, "Papa Hector, what did you do over there in the United States?" I wiped my hands on the blue rag and said, "I was a mechanic. I fixed things." He nodded like that made all the sense in the world. And I looked at his small hands holding the wrench, and I heard Graciela's voice from that kitchen in 1995. 4 in the morning, the yellow bulb blinking. Vete, pero no te pierdas de ti mismo. I thought she meant, don't get lost on the road. She meant something else entirely. Don't let the work, the fear, the survival erase who you are. The greatest risk of immigration isn't the border. It's what happens to a man's soul after he crosses it. I didn't lose myself. I worked, I sent money, I built things, I made a Navy officer, I fixed police cars, I trained mechanics. I was fully there for 28 years, and they still sent me back. My name is Héctor Ramón Solís Ibarra, 64 years old, Sahuayo, Michoacán, 28 years in Los Angeles, $187,000 in taxes, $234,000 in remittances, 1 American naval officer with my last name, and not a single day of benefits from the system I fed. If some part of you knows that isn't right, share this story. These stories need to be heard. One last question. If Hector paid over $187,000 in taxes, raised a United States Navy officer, and never asked for a single cent in return, what do you think America owed him?